How to create a structure of power. Well, if we think of things in terms of the microscopic level, then structures of power manifest themselves in things similar to electrical circuits and of diagrams of electronics. And any of you who may be familiar with electrical engineering or building circuits themselves, the physics behind it, then you'll be able to understand a lot of what it is that I'm talking about. However, you're going to have to think out of the box a little bit to make the connection between the microscopic level and the macroscopic level. Because in a lot of ways, the dimensional plane in which you live on, which is in correspondence to, the human form and of that plane, and interacting with objects which you can visibly see with the naked eye, more so than things on the microscopic level in which you need very precise tools to actually manipulate. You'll see that the microscopic level actually houses a highly similar diagram or way in which it houses and controls power to that of which is the level in which the human form is on itself. For example, let's look at a building or a structure, an organization, a company, a corporation. Now, first off, to actually build this building itself, you need to have support. And what I mean by support is a dual meaning, because the building itself has to have structural support, but you have to have support from all the individuals in the surrounding area. And so in a way, it's like a bunch of different hands representing individuals and people that are, in a sense, supporting this building, just as much as it is the actual engineering itself that goes into the structure and the layout of, each little segment of the building, which in essence holds it up from falling down to the earth. And so what ends up happening is you kind of have this structure that now in a lot of ways operates on the same principles as an electrical diagram or circuit. However, it's with utilization of people as the flow of energy and of electricity. And so, you have all of these different things which you would have in a normal circuit diagram represented by people, and these people playing different roles within this structure itself. So you have different rooms set up for different purposes, and each different room houses a separate individual that he himself or herself operates under a separate principle. And it's pretty much the same as you would look at an electrical diagram. You have an amount of currency which goes through the structure, and the building itself needs to be housed upon, even on a greater dimension, a currency which supports it on the face of the planet, because you're not going to be able to build in a place which doesn't necessarily have current flowing through it. And by that I mean a land in which is arable and has hot spots of resources for you to be able to take advantage of or capitalize on. And so we have this whole dimensionality effect of from the lowest level of circuitry to the human plane, and then to the superorganism plane, one step above that, of which you can see with your naked eye. However, you can visualize this plane of how things on the microscopic level translate to operations and functions on the plane level that we're on now. And then these things translate and operate under a lot of the same principles on the next level up as well, where the building itself has to be constructed in an area which operates on a lot of the same principles of a circuit, where the the earth itself is the circuit, and you need the currency flowing through the land to support the life, to actually support the structure itself. So anyways, getting back to the structure and how the human form can actually translate to the flow of energy, which one might actually be reconciling with in an electrical circuit diagram, where each different component on your diagram performs a different function, which limits the power going through the structure and allows it to perform different tasks based on the circuit that you actually build. Now, the same principle can be had within a structure itself, being the building or the corporation or organization, based upon what its ultimate goals are and how it is organized, and based upon the separate individuals housed within different portions of the unit itself, themselves operating under different conditions, which manipulate the flow of energy through the building and allow it to perform separate tasks. And in which the circuit itself and how it's built actually will determine the function of the overall organization itself. And so a lot of things translate from one area of knowledge to the other, and it's pretty fascinating because, you know, we live in this world where there are so many different facets of knowledge, but they all kind of are interrelated to each other, some more so than others. But, you know, it's kind of all built up on the same stuff. And so really one area applies to kind of like all things. Um, and in some ways you kind of have to tweak a little bit of how it is that you're applying it. But, you know, larger dimensional objects usually in essence have to house the smaller dimensional principles, because they're built up of the things which themselves contain the smaller dimensional principles. So in a sense they're still operating under the same principles, just on a larger scale. And on this larger scale though, you have to, you know, take into consideration the operations of other things on this larger scale itself, and it may in essence form an alternate facet of knowledge or of scientific perspective in relation to the principles in which you apply to this dimension that you're looking at. And you know, look for the similarities and you'll be able to find them. Look for the differences, you'll be able to find them. In a lot of ways it can, if your mind thinks of things in a certain way and you've studied something in a certain mannerism over a long course of time, then it may actually help you to translate a lot of this knowledge, which you already know in regards to one area, to a separate area. However, just remember to take into consideration the barriers between knowledge itself and between application in regards to other areas of knowledge, because, you know, it all kind of operates under the same principles, but at the same time it doesn't, because you're asking a different question in regards to a different system. And so, you know, don't just see the similarities because that's all you want to see. Make sure that you look at the bigger picture and open your eyes to the availability and possibility that there are extreme differences between facets and areas of knowledge as well. So yeah, there you have it. You know, build a structure and an organization and a company based upon the principles that you may have learned in physics or your engineering class in regards to circuit diagrams. All you have to do is have a little bit of a metaphorical mind and be able to translate the words in which are used to describe one function in regards to a set of scientific principles, and be able to apply them to another set of an area of knowledge itself in regards to how it could possibly operate and perform under the conditions that you desire. And you'll be able to build and see things, you know, in regards to the scale in which they're on, and relate these scales back to one another. So anyways, later folks.